Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about loneliness and the effect it has on those of us that are in that semi-retirement age, which I would say is somewhere between 55, 65 and up. Okay, loneliness is something that is very much a part of animal nature. And even as human beings, we are basically in some form animals. And if you notice, if you have pets or whatever, they seem to love attention, or most of them do. There's the odd one that doesn't. And, they like to snuggle up to you and, just get your love and affection. I had a rabbit once, and he lived to be 11 years old. Yeah. And, last going off, he was pretty feeble. He couldn't walk and that sort of thing. So I tried to spend a lot of time with him. But rabbits are very affectionate creatures. Anyways, you kind of wonder, do animals get alone? Do they feel lonely like people do? So what happens, and it may have happened to you, is that you are semi-retired, or maybe you're totally retired. And that means you no longer go out every day to a regular job. If you're semi-retired, you may have a part-time job somewhere. But, you go out every day, and you were used to seeing people all the time. And I actually worked in two basic fields most of my life. I always did art, as I've said as a sort of a side hustle. And, but I was in more, to begin with, the labor type stuff at first. And then as I got older, I was able to manage to get a retail position. And it was in a good store. It was selling CDs and DVDs. And so it was lots of fun. I mean, lots of work. And you had your strange customers too. But I found myself out all the time in front of people. And at the time I thought, wow, this is a lot, and maybe this is too much. If you've ever been in retail work, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I did find that after that whole chain, as you know what happened to this CDs basically and DVDs, downloading came along, and other things too affected it. Corporate decisions, and stocks and all that sort of thing. So what happened was, the stores all closed, and I was put out to pasture and relied more and more on my art. And my art did get me out around, and show until I had some health issues the last couple of years. I was able to get out and mingle with people and do the odd mural or hang up some paintings in a local cafe and that sort of thing. And that gets you out and around. But I too experienced a lot of loneliness that led to some depression, mostly anxiety, as I talked about in other videos. Anxiety has been something that's stayed with me since, I was 6 years old. My dad and mom, I think mom was probably not so happy about it, or a little naive at the time, because they married really young. And my dad took her back to his home, which is in a real remote area, and basically the only neighbors were his parents. So imagine my dad going off to work all the time, and my mom being left basically with his parents and no one else, because it was kind of a gentleman's farm. My grandfather had worked in the woods, and he was forest ranger and that sort of thing, and they relied on everything, plant your own garden, that sort of thing. But I know my mom, she experienced terrible loneliness and depression, and I was only 5 or 6 at the time, but she was my best friend really through it all, and we'd go on picnics together and that sort of thing. But I know she suffered through a lot of of loneliness. So I think loneliness happens to us all. It's part of our nature to want to be, I guess the term is gregarious, if I'm using it right. And some people, as I said, are more that way than others. Some people love to be in public all the time and with people all the time, whereas others, it doesn't make so much of a difference. So what I found was I experienced this loneliness when I went off my job and that sort of thing. I just wanted to mention too, I remember, some people said, well, some people don't mind being lonely. And some people get incredibly depressed and that sort of thing. And I remember I had an uncle too, of course on my dad's side, and they were both from this remote area. I'm talking back in the woods. Yeah, they had spring-fed water and gravity-fed, and wow. Anyways, it was quite. They did have electricity later on, but that's where my dad was born and raised, in this really rural area. But his older brother had gone off and joined the Air Force when he was young. And I do know that he didn't seem, at least when he was older, he didn't seem to mind being alone. I mean, he did get into a divorce at some point, and people have different reasons for that. And that kind of, when you're divorced, you tend to be more alone than not. And sometimes it's for the better that you are divorced. But anyways, just going to switch hands here for a sec, if I can. Oh, maybe I can't. Okay, we'll go back this way. I got to get one of those walking sticks, or I'm going to have a lot of pain in my arm after this. Yeah, and he was, when he retired, he did work for, people sort of work, and he had been in the Air Force and that sort of thing. So he became one of these fire spotters in a tower, and people would joke all the time that he was alone by himself all the time. And then he had a cabin down in his old home, and he would go down there on the weekends, and he built his own house, and he lived in that alone. Of course, there's always families and family get-togethers and that sort of thing. But it's the thing of our age for most people, that being alone is hard to do. Okay, I'm just gonna switch right here. Yeah, okay. So yeah, being alone was, for him, didn't seem to be an issue. Now I did find it was different, and I did find that there was times of a lot of depression in my 50s, and I did go and I got help, talked to my doctor about it, took some counseling, and it helped me get over or manage my anxiety quite a bit. But anyway, today we're going to talk a lot about loneliness. Another thing that happened to me too, and I know that you all will have different opinions of this, but if you would probably try to empathize, and that means to go into someone else's position. I was raised in a very evangelical Christian home, and I believed it, full circle. I believed everything I was told, and I was in, and I thought the presence of God was a big reality in my life. I mean, it felt like he, we'll say he, because that's the way the Bible seems to represent him, God, as a he anyway. But I felt that I had this presence with me all the time. So at the same time, what happened, and maybe something like this has happened to you, maybe you still can draw on your faith as a means of comfort, and it gets you out to, church functions and that sort of thing. And that does help, I would say, with loneliness, because my father, he was very, very active. So was my mother too, but it seemed mostly to be my dad's thing, that he liked being in church all the time and participating. He was a deacon, a trustee, van driver, Sunday school teacher, Sunday school superintendent, usher, everything. So that kept him busy socially. And for me, I did similar things. I even did some preaching in different parts in my late 20s when we got married. And I thought I'd be in the ministry, but life took different turns, and I came to find out, even though I tried so hard to remain active with my faith, I started to consider different things, and we're not going to get into that right now, but I did come to the conclusion that I really had no proof that this other voice in my head was not much more than just my own voice, and that the person I was praying to was probably just the person in my head, myself. So I think that put me in a different spot, because I lost the connection with people at work. And then I also, fortunately I do have family, and they all love me, and that sort of thing. So that's great. That allows for some company and that sort of thing at time. But I think we all sometimes need different kinds of, we need to know we're not alone. So when I kind of lost my faith that there was a spiritual being looking out for me, I think I was dealing with the two things at once. That both, there was no job and there was no God. And that does put you through a position of really, wondering where you are in life, and you get left to yourself and your own thoughts, and that can cause some issues. Okay, I'm going to switch over here again. Yeah, being left alone with your own thoughts, and I'm going to try to go down this little bridge here for a little bit. There's a walkway. Can you see that? Yeah, wow. The farmers are having a big blazing fire behind me. There's always something to burn when you're on a farm. Not sure if you can see that or not. Wait, I'll go right around this way. Yeah, you can see the smoke right there. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to take a walk down through here, test this bridge, go through this little thing here. So when you do lose, for whatever reason, and we're going to focus on the semi-retirement issue here, not so much spiritual thing, because I think those are different categories. And I was only telling you about the spiritual thing just to highlight how different, I never thought when I was a teenager or whatever that somehow, I would find that I would no longer have solace in this invisible and what I think now was an imaginary being. You're left alone. And perhaps you yourself have gone through something similar, gone through a divorce, maybe you've lost family, close members to death. And all those things are very, very important. And what I come to understand is only you know how much you need. My uncle seemed perfectly happy, and against all the odds, they say being alone is like so many packs of cigarettes a day on your health. Yet, my uncle lived to be well into his 90s. Okay, we've got quite a hill coming up here. Oh yeah, by the way, my name is Kevin Cameron, and this channel is called Silver Hill. And so thanks for joining if you're still watching. All right, back to our topic at hand. Loneliness. Yeah, it's a beast, eh? It's a terrible thing. But I think only you know how much, like I was saying about my uncle, he seemed perfectly content to be alone 99% or 95% of the time. But maybe you're the type of person you need it 50-50 or a different ratio. Well, like I told someone, you got to do what for yourself. You got to do what you can do for yourself. And you have to look after yourself. Because if you don't, you can't look after anybody else. It's a kind of a weird world. There's so much, our world is so filled with narcissism today. I mean, diagnosed probably narcissism. There's a common, definition of narcissism where It's just somebody who is sort of thinks of themselves all the time, which is part of true scientific narcissism. But you do need a little percentage of maybe healthy narcissism, we can call it. You need to think about yourself, and you need to learn not just to find ways to be with others, find a friend, make a friend, hang on to that person, but also to be a friend to yourself. You need to look at your talents, your abilities, what you've done for the world. Maybe you had some big mistakes. Maybe you've had time where you've had to go to prison or something, But now you're out, and the best thing to do is when you look back over your life is to look for those things that you think are the better parts of your life. If you've tried and made attempts to change and to do your best in the present, you kind of have to look back, and maybe you can't get those people back again in your life that you offended or hurt. That's okay. It is okay. Because that can cause loneliness, I know. But life is ever changing, and like I said, I never ever dreamed as a young man, a middle-aged man, that I would come to some place where the whole world's been flipped around inside out. But that's life. Life does that to all of us in different ways. Maybe we think we've got a great career, and then we're almost not homeless. We're almost homeless next. Or vice versa. But anyways, loneliness is topic that we could keep talking about. But what I would say, you have to be able to enjoy, look forward, find things you like about being alone, things you like to do, stay connected somewhat. Pick one good social media, maybe, perhaps, that you can live with. And the social media, I don't think, is a real replacement for flesh and blood, but it does help because you can contact a friend. And I've made friends. I made friends in other countries actually, through using media and blogs, and it sure does help to be able to talk from. I had a good friend that I met on WordPress, and we used to write back and forth. She's no longer with me. She was older than me, and no longer with us, in a figurative sense. And we used to talk about art, and we had good conversations back and forth. I have another friend that I've met on Twitter, X, and an artistic friend. I'll never get to see that person because they live in the States and I live in Canada. The chances are I won't see them. But, you do. You have to look at not one big solution, but many different solutions to combat loneliness. Some of it, like I've said before in other videos, some of it is accepting your situation a little bit at first, and then trying to see how you can remedy it. That'll take away a lot of the anxiety. Once you say to yourself, this is a normal. Right now, this is a normal. We're going to work on it. We're going to see if we can make a few friends online. And maybe, if we're lucky, get to go out for a coffee or something, a walk maybe, with a friend or a family member. So you try different things. Like I said before, if you think going to your local spiritual assembly will help in some ways, try that. Give it your best. If not, just reach out in different ways and share your abilities and your talents. Hey, even try on YouTube. And that's kind of what I'm doing too. I'm trying to reach out to others and help have maybe a fuller life in what I would call these semi-retired years. So to you, all my friends and that are semi-retired or otherwise, or maybe you're full retired, I hope this video has been some help to you. And I'm going to try to get one of those sticks that I can hold, so instead of my arm giving out to me, maybe it'll be better for the next time. Okay, guys, it's been a great walk. It's been great to have a chat with you, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.